welcome to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
We're going to be talking about nostalgia from the 80s and 90s today.
Yes. We're feeling very nostalgic.
We kind of always are feeling nostalgic these days, especially in this year. Particular year of 2020.
Yeah.
October 2020. It's almost, the year is almost over, but we're still in the...
We're crawling along like a wounded animal. We're crawling to the end of the year.
Just like that, trying to, get to the thing like,
Get to the finish line.
Get to the finish line, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just before I hit record, I was thinking, when did I become nostalgic?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, when did it start happening for me? And I'm thinking back and I'm like, I think it maybe actually had something to do with food when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Because because the internet, I'd say the internet started in the late 90s. I know it started earlier than that, but the internet really exploded in the late 90s for pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
And I was at the right age. I was 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
I was getting, and I got my first computer, which was those big things with the big box monitors and the big box hard drive and everything. The mouse and Windows 98 and all that, you know. And, I'm nostalgic for that, but, when you start talking to people on the internet and you start talking to people from around the world, a lot of people, like, when they first got the internet, a lot of my friends started just talking to each other. Oh, this is funny. Yeah, it's like texting. It's on,
Yeah, my brother was on AIM, if anybody remembers that, AOL, Instant Messenger, talking to kids he goes to school with all the time. Like, day and night. If he was home, he was talking to them. And I'm just like, you see these people all the time.
My dad was the same way with me. Like if I talked to my friend who lived literally up the street from me, up the hill, my dad would be like, you're talking to him that, you just go out the back and shout to him.
Yeah.
And, it's the internet, it's a fad, it's going to go away and all this kind of stuff.
I mean, when I started going on the internet, I was really interested in the fact that I was fascinated by chat rooms, the idea of chat
I was
rooms.
Too.
They were a scary place. There's strangers on there. You're going to talk to strangers, and people are going to try to get you.
Well, I never thought about people trying to get me. I mean, I guess my dad kind of said to me, oh, who are you talking to on there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Who are you talking to?
It was a very creepy, seedy place, chat rooms, in the media especially,
Because,
yeah. And, but I had no interest in talking to anybody from Austin, It was like, I can talk to people in Italy. I can talk to people in New York City. I can talk to people across the world, Let me go in these other chat rooms. And
I was the same way. I was like, I'll talk to people from the USA, I'll talk to people from Australia, I'll talk to people from everywhere else. I did not want to talk to people from the UK. Yeah. Because I felt like, I know these people, I know what's going on in Manchester. I know, even though I didn't live there, I know it's kind of boring, Yeah. Because, there was this place called Teen Chat. I think it was teenchat.com or .co.uk.
Oh, God.
And it was just like a massive chat where everybody entered. And I think it was mostly British people.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember... Because a lot of I remember I had MSN chat and I had AOL, and I remember when I talked to Americans about that, they go, why do you have AOL in Britain? Because it literally stands for America Online. I don't know, I thought it stood for anywhere online. But yeah, so like, my dad would go, oh, who are you talking to? And then, oh, there's this guy, he's a bit weird, stop talking to him, or whatever, it'd be that kind of stuff. But yeah, I started getting nostalgic when I started getting really into the internet when I was like 14 or 15 and talking to people, and they'd say...
You started getting nostalgic as a teenager?
As a teenager, yeah.
What?
For stuff like Lucky Charms.
Okay.
Stuff that had disappeared. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't see Lucky Charms, and I don't see Mountain Dew anymore.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, they introduced it to the UK, and then they kind of took it away again,
Yeah.
because I used to get Mountain Dew all the time. I used to get Lucky Charms and...
So talking to the Americans, and they were just like, oh, yeah, Lucky Charms,
yeah, I mean,
Mountain
Lucky
Dew.
Dew.
And you were like, yeah, I remember those.
Whatever happened to them?
My
They'd be
God.
like, oh, yeah, we have them all the time over here, you know. So it was like, you know, pre-YouTube
I think that's
reacting
a bit weird.
You think it's a bit weird? No,
because I call you weird, but you know.
Well, I am weird.
No, you
After
said
10 years of marriage, you should have figured that out now.
Oh, I'm well aware.
Oh.
No, you said to me before we started recording, when do people become nostalgic? Because we found this.
Well, apparently for me it was like 15 or 16, so.
I think that's a little early for
a little early.
We found this like Reddit post that somebody was just complaining about, oh, I'm sick of 80s and 90s nostalgia. I was born in 2002 and when is this all going to go away? Oh, everybody thinks that pre 9/11 it was just some sort of utopian society and you know. And
well, when you're a kid, it is a utopian society.
Well, no, you said to me then, yeah, they're right though. When do people start becoming nostalgic? Because as a kid, you're not nostalgia, and no, you're not. You have nothing to be nostalgic about as a kid. You've only been on the planet for a few years, you know.
But with the internet, I think everything is kind of melding together.
What do you mean? Like,
you know, kids are seeing, like, our age and older being nostalgic. Oh, remember typewriters, and oh, remember CFAX, and all that. We're going to talk about these later, a little bit later on. But, you know, and so they're just like, what's that? And they just go and look up Wikipedia and all that. And they go, oh, yeah, oh, I'm nostalgic. Do you remember those drinks you used to get when we were kids?
I think nostalgia.
And it's like, yeah, that was 2 years ago, mate. You're only 12, you know?
I think nostalgia, and the reason why stuff comes back into fashion literally meaning clothes, clothes come back into fashion from a certain period. Music regains popularity after a certain period of time. Toys come back. They make reproduction, whatever. You know.
They make remakes of movies all the time because so and so is it's kind of going around the internet as a meme.
In my opinion, it's about a 20-year period. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it's 20 years, yeah.
Kids who were born in the 80s and 90s, about 20 years from then, all of that stuff is going to come back. And in my opinion, the reason why is because now those people who were kids then, in theory, have children themselves. And they and their kids are getting into whatever's popular now, and they're going, oh no,
back in my day,
let me show you this.
Let me show you the real deal.
Let me show you.
Kids, put down those iPads. Let me show you what real gaming is all about. Yeah. And then they pull out the PlayStation or the N64.
Oh, you think Kanye's great? Here's Run DMC. You know what I mean?
The music and
yeah.
What are you wearing?
That was in style. Those stretchy tattoo necklaces. You know, kids are wearing them now. They wore them when I was in high school.
Did they?
Yeah, you pulled it on over your head, and it was just like not a piece of elastic.
Vaguely remember them like they like a sleeve or something. Yeah, but
I think they did make bracelets them later of them on. Too. They were teeny tiny, but they stretched beyond belief, and you just put it on over your head, and it was like a choker, but it looked like a tattoo or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. Like the little barrettes are coming back. Butterflies are coming back. Butterflies, when I was in high school, were made really popular because of Mariah Carey's Butterfly album. So it was just like butterfly everything. Everybody had butterfly clips and
that song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it.
With my boyfriend, my love.
I think because
there's no beginning and there is no end. Yeah.
And of course, New Kids on the Block and all that.
Oh kind of stuff. Boy band. Well,
to me, when they were New Kids on the Block. And Take That and all that kind of stuff that came out in the 90s. They had a resurgence in like around 2008, 2009, maybe a little bit earlier than that, because we were like I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So it was like people who were about 10 or 5 or 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
were in their 30s, their early 30s. So it was like, it's time for us to come back. Because remember when you were kids and you fancied us? Well, we're old now, and we're gonna sing the same songs, and you might still fancy us. I don't know.
Like, here's another example. When I was in high school, bell-bottom jeans started becoming popular again. You know what I mean? Like, before that, it was sort of like, this is for girls, obviously. I don't know that they ever came back for boys.
They did. I'm wearing some right now.
Oh, God. But I remember bell-bottom jeans and platform shoes, and those were huge in the 90s. Everybody was out. That was like the style. And I'm like, oh yeah, these are so cute. And my mom's like, yeah, these were popular when I was in high school, which was 20 years before that. So.
Yeah, everything old is new again. It's like that kind of thing, like, I don't know what's popular today that's going to be new again in the future. I mean,
that Reddit post that we were talking about, read the end of it, because they say, maybe when I'm
40.
Yeah.
I'll be all nostalgic for a TV show set in 2017 starring a dad who mines Bitcoin. We might not a mum who was on something
yeah, left the word
on
out.
Something an Instagram that thought daughter
THOT
and a mumble rap listening to son who is attempting to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And it's like, people are like, oh, remember those days of YouTube when everybody was trying to get 1 million subscribers?
Remember when everyone had a podcast?
Remember when everyone had a podcast? What happened to T and a Butty, eh? What happened to them? It's like, well, they're in our living rooms right now.
No, but...
They've taken over everything.
But that's true.
That's true.
I mean, they probably will be nostalgic for those things. They'll be sitting around with their friends remembering all of that kind of stuff. None of that stuff is cool, in my opinion. None of that stuff's going to be like, oh yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah, someone commented saying, someday you'll be in your mid-30s and all the stuff you loved will be retro.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the... and speaking of that,
Yes,
I've got this list. I've got this list of 10 things, and number 1 on it is blowing the dust off game cartridges.
Oh, yeah.
Kids like that, they've got iPads
or
now.
VHSs.
They don't,
Yeah.
Well, VHSs, I didn't... Oh, yeah, I guess I did a look in and kind of blow.
Or not the VHS, but you blew into the VCR. In there, whenever it was like, the tape started messing
I've told you
up.
that the VCR always had DEW on it.
What?
DEW. I've told you this before.
Yeah.
And it was just like, we couldn't...
It was just like, oh no, it's got the DEW.
And my dad would say it. And I think he just couldn't, because he couldn't be bothered to try and fix it. I'd be like trying to play my Thomas the Tank Engine. There you go, another nostalgia thing. Because, I mean, it's still a thing right now. Kids are all into Thomas, but, the original ones with Ringo narrating and all that. And I used to put them in the thing and it wouldn't play. And I was like, Dad, it won't play. Can you fix it?
He's like, oh no, it's got DEW.
And he was like, oh, it's got the DEW. It's like, what does that even mean, the DEW? It's just got the DEW, isn't it? And it's like, oh, because, moisture or something. I'm guessing it was...
Surely it didn't literally mean DEW. Oh,
DEW, what does that mean, DEW?
It stood for something. Like...
DEW! The morning dew has gotten into it.
But yes,
I never did look it up. I've got the internet and I never did look up what that DEW meant.
Another thing besides game cartridges and VCRs was the dust on your CD or your DVD player. Or I mean, not DVD player, DVD. You might have a little dust if it was sitting out or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if it wasn't playing, you would take that and you'd rub it on your clothes or something, shine it up and look and see if there's any scratches.
I remember when they came out. I remember when CDs were the new thing.
Yeah,
because they weren't
Before
really
that, I had cassette tapes.
Cassette tapes. I still had my first when I was 9. I was getting into the Beatles, and so I asked my, can I have a Beatles tape? Or a Beatles record for my birthday.
Yeah.
You
were already nostalgic when you were you were like
I was
the 60s.
The 60s, man. Those were the time.
I was as well, because speaking of VHSs, I used to make, I think maybe I've mentioned on the podcast before, I used to make my mom record reruns of the Monkees TV show on VHS.
Oh, I was mad for them.
It came on really...
And they used to come on BBC or...
It came on really late at night, and I couldn't, it was past my bedtime, and I'd be like, put a tape in the VCR, record it. I can't, I need to see this episode. I haven't seen this one. And my mom's like, this show's like 20-something years old.
Yeah, 20 years old. Yeah, it would have been that. But the Monkees used to come on TV, and I was 9, and I still knew they were a Beatles ripoff. It's like, but I remember I was trying to get my friend John McDermott. I think I even have him on Facebook now. Actually, he was my primary school friend and I remember he just moved down from Manchester, so he had all the he had that northern accent, like the Beatles.
Yeah.
And I think I said to him, I said, "You sound like the Beatles." And I'm really into the Beatles. He goes, "Oh, they're old, they're so, the people made fun of me." I said, "No, you got to get." And I said, "Oh yeah, I've heard my parents like them, Yeah, I'll see about them." And he went home, and then there was like a Monkees episode, and I watched it, and I came back, and he goes, "You know what? I think I'm into the Monkees." I was like, "No, get into the Beatles."
Oh my god!
But yeah, another thing about we were talking about the VCR having to adjust the tracking.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God. That was annoying.
No, and the annoying thing is you're sitting there hitting the thing on the remote control, and it's just like,
no.
and it goes just a little bit past. It's like perfect for a second. Oh, but you've gone too far. Oh, you gotta go back.
I was doing it on the actual VCR because I don't think you could do it on our remote control. I remember doing it on the VCR, and I was just trying to get the tracking right. And it's so funny because it's like, I never really understood what's it tracking. Why is it going? Why is it messing up the picture? What was going on that was tracking it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just like, oh, the tracking's off. Oh,
Oh, here's another nostalgia thing that's not on your list. It just made me think of it. When I was little, the television that was in my bedroom when I was very, very little didn't even have a remote control. Yeah. I had to get up and manually change the channel.
You had a TV in your bedroom. Yeah. I didn't, you see. I'd never had a TV in my bedroom till I was like, oh, actually, hang on a minute, I did. I was allowed one in my bed, because we had an old one, and my dad was like, okay, I'll set it up for you. You can have it
this was an old one, too.
This was like when I was like 11, or maybe when I was like 14. I can't remember. I know I had one in it, because we moved around a lot, so.
Or this is not 80s and 90s nostalgia, but what about the TVs with the rabbit ears, and you had to move them to get a better reception? Did you guys?
We never had rabbit ears, but I remember I had an aerial on the back of it that was at circle. And I would have to, like, occasionally... This is in the days before digital. Yeah. If there's any kids listening. Digital happened... There was a cutoff in, like, 2012.
My grandma's TV. It would just be like this. Like you were steering, like, some kind of...
Shit. Don't look like Tugboat Mickey.
You just, like, pull one back this way, pull one back, and you'd be, like, looking down at the TV, like, oh, okay. Does that make sense? Okay, leave it there. It's perfect.
Or, you put your hand around the aerial, and the picture would become perfect. Okay, just stay there. And you just be like, holding it, and you just go, no! Oh yeah, I used to have that all the time too, just be like, oh, if I put my hand around the aerial, I've got perfect picture quality. What is going on here? Cassette tapes you were talking about. Remember when they used to get chewed up in the tape player? Yeah. And you'd have to take it carefully out from the runners and everything. Yeah. And then wind it back in with a pencil. Oh.
I preferred that, to be honest, because...
I preferred that to this nonsense of listening to it on iTunes.
No, because today. When CDs came... not today, but when CDs came out, if you got a scratch, the CD was just screwed. And that was it. That was the end of the CD, and you had to go get a new one,
Yeah,
with a cassette tape, at least you could fix it back, and it would be fine then, All the tape could freaking come out, and you could get a little pencil
because even if it was, like,
squished
a little bit, or, like, whatever, it would flatten back into place if you did it. Yeah. Yeah, and if the CD got scratched, it was screwed. It was like vinyl. But you did have vinyl repair shops and stuff like that.
I think they had machines that could buff out of a CD, but it was just like, nah.
Yeah,
they didn't really work.
They didn't, yeah. I mean, we had this vinyl repair kit because my dad used to listen to a lot of vinyl, obviously, because and he had like stacks and stacks of vinyl, so I'd be listening to it too.
Yeah.
and we'd have it on all the time. We had this big stereo, and that's the first thing I remember doing, you know.
Yeah.
Because my parents were older, so I had that kind of like...
Well, we had a record player, too. My mom had records, and we'd listen to them as well, too. I could never figure out how to do it, though. This shows that I wasn't from that era, you know. I put the record on, and then I'd be like that, and he'd be like, and she'd be like, no! Just
yes.
sit it down gently. Like,
set it down gently, yeah. Because I'd always, like, I remember the first time I think I did it, we had it on, there was 45 BPM and 33 I think it was BPM, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, that changed the speed of it. So I like, a single would be 45.
Yeah.
And, you know, a long play. It was LP, long play or EP or, you know, whatever. And I'd put it on 45 for like an album or something, and it would be going really fast, you know,
yeah.
Or too slow for like a... You know, yeah, we had like Please Please Me, and I'd be listening to Please Please Me all the time, the single, the 45 and everything.
You know, when you're from a certain period of time, then obviously your parents are from a different period of time. And so you sort of develop a nostalgia for your own time period that you were a kid during. Doing
that.
But also for some of their stuff that came before you because they still had it, you know, so like record players or the old not digital, what are they called? The phones that you had to
rotary dial.
Rotary dial, that's it. Rotary dial phones or whatever.
My gran had one. We didn't ever have one. It was buttons, you know, but it was always on the wall. Nobody. Well, obviously people have cell phones these days.
Yeah.
But it was always either on the wall or like, you know, it was like one of those things you picked up and you went do. I don't ever remember anyone but my gran having a rotary dial one.
Oh yeah.
And even then, the rotary dial one was a modern one. It was like the late 80s model.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a 1960s model where you really giving it that, and it's like really, you know, you could bash someone over the head with those freaking things. It would really hurt, you know.
But like my mom still has VHS tapes and a VCR player. You know, she still has some. So therefore, my niece and nephew know what those things are, but other kids their age might not necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just things like that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, moving further along, like floppy disks.
Oh God, yes.
That was later on.
I saved everything onto a floppy disk.
I think the only time I ever really used a floppy disk was like when we needed to reformat the computer.
Yeah.
Everything else was on like a CD.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, like software was on a CD and everything. But we did have floppy disks and we had a couple of things on them. But yeah, that even by the time I started using a PC in like late 90s, floppy disks were all kind of on the way out by then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. I mean, they were still being used.
I'm a little older than you, so no.
So mid-90s, they only really lasted for a couple of years in technologically speaking, I think. But people might say, oh, no, I was using them in the late 80s. I used them for
years after that when I got a job, too. I used them.
A couple of people, yeah.
Of course, I worked for an old man and, you know, everything was a bit...
Who was still living in the 80s,
yeah. Everything was a bit old, so...
Yeah, you still had a fax machine. Fax machines, there you go.
But no, when I was a teenager, we had a shared computer, obviously, for everyone in the house. So if I wanted to... And I wrote a lot. I was always into writing. So I was always, like, working on some kind of story or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had my little
floppy disc. You still got them here somewhere, haven't you?
Because I floppy disks?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, you still have them. I mean, I never saved anything onto a floppy disk.
I don't know why I have them, because
I can't remember what I saved any of my stuff onto.
Oh, I saved... Sometimes
maybe a floppy disk?
I
can't remember.
Maybe pictures, like, if you wanted to put a picture on the computer...
You had to save it to a floppy disk.
Yeah, but I can't even remember. How did it get onto a...
You had to click it and drag it, I think.
Oh, God, I can't remember, because
now I kind of remember me saving stuff onto a floppy disk.
Yeah.
But I think maybe then it started to become like they had like readable, rewritable CDs.
Oh, yeah.
And then I started saving everything onto that. And, you know, nowadays, like...
Most computers don't even have a floppy disk, like...
No, this one doesn't. You know, my laptop doesn't.
Yeah.
And yours doesn't. I mean, people are going, floppy disks are coming back. It's like, Why? You've got USB drives now. Do you remember those calculator watches? Everyone used to have it in school. That was just a that's the next one. Calculator watches. Yeah, every kid in my school had one, and it it looked like an Apple Watch, but with the little buttons on it and a little like thing. It looked really futuristic. It looked like
I guess maybe
everybody had a calculator watch, and then it started getting really popular, and kids just had them like, oh yeah, I got myself a calculator watch, but they didn't realize, oh yeah, I can cheat in maths now.
Oh, surely they did.
No, they didn't. And it was only until like a couple of years later, I remember, right, if you've got a calculator watch, take it off, give it to me. It was only then they realised, oh yeah, he's doing it on the calculator on his watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
I
got
don't.
in serious trouble for that.
No.
Number 6, you won't remember BBC CFAX or Teletext.
No, what is that?
Ah, they were the best things. It was basically like the internet on your TV, except it was just information pages.
Yeah.
It was all text, and you could like program it, and
what?
And you had like
explain.
It was you could get like news and weather. It was like an information service. It's been replaced by the Red Button now.
The Red Button.
The Red Button is another information service that you can get on BBC.
Yeah.
ITV had something similar called Teletext.
Yeah.
And it was just like text, it was just like what the news of the day, the weather, the sports results, the lottery results. You could just go on CFAX and check what was, and they'd uploaded it. It was just kind of like, and this was all pre-analog. And the BBC did this started this up in the 70s.
I was going to say, I think that when I was a kid, you could call, I don't know if it was the operator or, I can't remember. You could call somewhere and get the weather, too, on the phone.
It was like,
you would call, I don't think it was the operator. It might have been a specific number you hit or something, and they'd be like, the weather today is, it was just like a recorded thing, and it would tell you, like, I think the temperature, and, that may have been it. I don't really remember. But yeah, you just reminded me of that. I haven't not thought about that in so long. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me know.
In America, I thought they would have had like a station, because you had so many channels that just give you everything like local or whatever.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of like that, but this is what CFAX
it was just like. It was just like a, oh yeah, we had, it didn't have any written information.
It was all written information. It was just all like, it was like early computers kind of stuff.
It was sort of like
press a red button for headlines, sport, London TV, all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
This is from like a page on CFAX. And I remember Teletext used to have this thing for ITV and Channel 4. Mm-hmm. That was their service for it. And they had this game called Bamboozle on it.
Yeah.
And it was like a general knowledge quiz game. My dad used to want to play. He was, let's play some Bamboozle. And me and my dad would sit there, and it would be like multiple choice, and they had this like really like pixel kind of like Bambler Boozler.
Yeah.
He was like Bamba Gascoigne from University Challenge, and he'd set the questions to you, the general knowledge, and you'd have to hit the button which ones you'd have, and it would just be like a little fun little game, you know. I don't think CFAX had that, but yeah, CFAX was, it was something I didn't think about until it started to go away. Someone said, oh yeah, they're switching over from digital to digital, from analog. CFAX is going bye-bye.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no, CFAX, But CFAX is obsolete now because we got the internet.
It sort of sounds like we would have like a local.
You get the football results and everything on it.
We would have a local channel that you could pay to like advertise on, so it would have like announcements, maybe like church announcements, or when I was little and lived in my small town that I lived in, they would have like things that were going on at the local event center, things like that, advertisements. And then at the bottom, it would be just constantly scrolling news, like local news headlines, or like the school lunches for the week would be on that, would come on that channel and everything. And it was just like generic music playing sometimes, or sometimes it would be like a like a computerized voice reading off whatever it was that it was saying.
It was just generic music sometimes. Sometimes it would be silent. It would be like, like Muzak. And you'd be able to, like, hit for pages on the lottery numbers, hit 202.
Yeah.
For the sport and the headlines, it was very...
Yeah, no, there was no interaction in the thing that we had. It was just purely like a...
yeah.
Like a... I don't even know what you would call it. Like a display board.
Yes, yes. Do you remember pin art boards?
What are those?
you must know what pin art boards are. They're like pins, and you used to put your hand in them.
The pins, and you made art with them. Yes, no, I know what you're talking about. You
smush your face into them and made an imprint of your face and everything. Yeah, those were big. Those were a big deal. I used to have them all the time.
The first time I saw one was my aunt, who lived in LA when I was a kid, brought me back one. So I thought it was something like they only have in LA. Like, ooh, this is really trippy. This is big city kind of thing, because I had never seen one before that. She gave me one. Yeah, that was the first time. And it was just like a metal one.
Yeah.
It was just a silver. Because I think later on they made them.
It was like
they made
them
with plastic.
And stuff. Yeah.
They made the little pins where they weren't metal, But I remember it felt so cool if you put it on your face and made the imprint of your face.
I mean, yeah, I love them too. It was like Etch-a-Sketch. You remember Etch-a-Sketch?
Yeah, I could never do
because it was like mercury in it or something.
It was little magnet.
And but I don't know what the stuff was in it. It looked kind of dangerous. There was stuff in it. Yeah, it was like, like, what is in that? What's in that? Let's smash that open, see what it is.
Oh my god.
It's mercury. We've got mercury poisoning, everybody. Okay, we're kind of going out of time. Overtime.
So we're just gonna zip through these.
Zip through Mini Milk. You don't remember that?
No. What is it?
Wall's Mini Milk.
Okay.
They were the best things when I was a kid.
Walls is a whole topic all on its own, because you and I had a discussion before about
the international symbol for ice cream.
It's the international symbol for ice cream.
It's the heart
I think
brand.
we talked about this in our ice cream series years ago.
The international symbol for ice cream. When you see that swirly heart, there's ice cream. It's like an ice cream station. And you didn't know any about that. And it is. I went to Spain, been to Greece, I've been to Turkey. I've seen that symbol, and I know what it means. I don't have to speak any of the languages.
You just point to that heart.
That heart, I go, ice cream, yeah! It's like, it's Unilever's heart brand.
And so what are mini milks then?
They're just like, you can get them in strawberry, chocolate, vanilla. I think you used to be able to get a banana flavoured one.
And are they actually milk?
Yeah, there's a lot of milk in them. Yeah, it's kind of like an ice cream thing. It's on a stick, but it was I used to.
There's a lot of milk in it. It's like, yeah, it's ice cream then.
Yes, that's what they used to call it. And they were like for kids. When I was a kid, I used to just love eating mini milks. And I know there's a lot of you out there that must have had mini milks. So tell me about your nostalgia for mini milks there. The Goosebumps series.
Yeah, I was a little bit too old for that already.
I was about 10 when they started, and everybody was like, I'm reading Goosebumps, and it's like, you're not.
I read R.L. Stine, which is the same author who wrote the Goosebumps series, but they had a more, I don't know, is R.L. Stine a man or a woman? I think it's a woman.
I don't know. They made a movie of it recently, didn't they?
Out of Goosebumps, yeah. But the R.L. Stine novels were a little bit more teenagery. They were a little bit older themed. Yes. So think Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
They were like Lifetime movies for teenagers.
Yeah.
And I was into those, yeah. But my brother had a Choose Your Own Adventures Goosebumps book that I thought was freaking awesome. I love
Choose Your Own Adventures games and everything like that.
That was like I think that maybe that was something that only came out then too. I don't think
Choose
that
Your Own Adventures.
That. Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you because I think that an early form of it was if you choose A, scroll to page go to page 155. If you choose B, go to like page
90.
Whatever. Yeah, I didn't ever read the Goosebumps series. I just thought it's not really for me. I'm not really into horror
Yeah.
A lot of kids were into like horror and scary stories, and I was never really into it. It's not because I'm like afraid of it or anything like that. It's just like, it just wasn't for me. I'm still, when we watch horror films, I'm just still gonna.
We don't really, but we're going to this year because they keep showing Halloween over and over and over, and you're gonna sit and watch it with me.
I'm gonna make a Reddit post. I'm sick of Halloween. Sick of Halloween movies. The only reason I watch the Halloween movies is because Donald Pleasance is in them. And it's James Bond Day, so there you go. He wasn't James Bond, he was Blofeld. Number 10, the final one, is the dial-up tone for the internet. Everybody our age would remember that.
Yes. I hated it at the time, but now...
Bing, 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 bing.
Now I think it's so good.
Silent, like, okay, we're online.
When you, it did
remember
build
the silence
up the excitement,
before, silence before it was, because sometimes they're
just kind of sitting there waiting,
and then you see it go do 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 do, bing, online,
Yeah.
But it'd be like, if anybody picked up that bloody phone,
my God.
connection lost instantly. Oh, what are you doing? Because my dad would be like, I need to use the phone, because it would be like, on the phone,
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
And I'd be like, no!
You'd be like, it just took me 20 minutes to get on here, and you just picked up the phone.
Kids today will never know that. The only annoying bit is when the Wi-Fi goes out or the router isn't working. It's just like, oh, what?
Yes.
That's the annoying part now. But I do remember that.
But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these little bits of nostalgia. Maybe we'll do another one of these episodes some point.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to talk about.
We'll do 60s and 70s nostalgia.
And we really love nothing better than reminiscing.
Reminiscing about the good old days about...
I think there's probably more 80s and 90s things we can reminisce about. Let us know what your favorite thing was from the 80s and 90s that you're nostalgic
and
for.
If you weren't born then, tell us what your favorite thing was from your childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you were older then. Maybe you were, not even born then,
Yeah, maybe you weren't born yet. Maybe you were already... full-fledged adult in the 80s and
maybe
90s.
In the 80s you were like, I remember the 50s, man.
Still be nostalgic, although my mom is like, at the time, the music was great, but for some reason now she's like, oh, the music from the 90s was crap. I have no idea where that came from. But anyway, off topic.
Spice Girls, man.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you tuning in. We value your support.
We also value your privacy. I thought that's what you were going to say. We value your privacy. And
we gotta go. Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.